Brief history of Syria. Syria has a rich history dating back to ancient times, with early civilizations like the Ebla Kingdom in the 3rd millennium BCE. The region was part of various empires, including the Assyrian and Babylonian empires. After Alexander the Great's conquests, Syria was part of the Seleucid Empire, followed by Roman and Byzantine rule. In the 7th century, Syria was conquered by Muslim Arabs and became part of the Umayyad Caliphate, with Damascus as the capital. In 1516, Syria became part of the Ottoman Empire, a period that lasted until the early 20th century. Following World War I and the fall of the Ottoman Empire, Syria was placed under French mandate in 1920. Syria gained independence from France in 1946. The early years of independence were marked by political instability and coup. In 1963, the Ba'ath Party seized power. Hafez al-Assad became president in 1971, establishing a strong, centralized state. Hafez al-Assad's son, Bashar al-Assad, took over in 2000 after his father's death. Leading up to the conflict, Syria faced significant economic problems, high unemployment, and widespread corruption. The Assad regime maintained strict control over political life with limited freedoms and harsh crackdowns on dissent. In 2011, inspired by the Arab Spring uprisings in other countries, protests broke out in Syria, demanding political reforms and greater freedoms. The Assad government's violent response to peaceful protests led to an escalation of tensions. By mid-2011, the situation had devolved into a full-scale civil war, with multiple factions fighting for control, including the Syrian government, opposition groups, and various extremist organizations. The conflict attracted international involvement, with countries like Russia and Iran supporting the Assad regime, while the US, Turkey, and some Gulf states supported various opposition groups. The conflict in Syria involves a complex array of factions, each with their own agendas and allegiances. Here are the main factions that have been involved in the fighting as of recent years: Syrian government and allies. 1. Syrian Arab Army, SAA, the official military forces of the Syrian government, loyal to President Bashar al-Assad. 2. National Defense Forces, NDF, paramilitary groups allied with the Syrian government. 3. Hezbollah, Lebanese Shiite militant group and political party supporting the Assad regime. 4. Iranian militias, various militias supported by Iran, including the Quds Force of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. 5. Russian armed forces. Russia provides significant military support to the Assad regime, including airstrikes and ground support. Kurdish Forces 1, Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, a coalition primarily composed of Kurdish, Arab, and Assyrian militias. The main component is the YPG. 2. People's Protection Units, YPG, the main Kurdish militia in Syria, which forms the backbone of the SDF. 3. Women's Protection Units, YPJ, the all-female counterpart to the YPG. Opposition groups. 1. Free Syrian Army, FSA, initially the main umbrella group for armed opposition factions, though its influence has waned. 2. National Liberation Front, NLF, a coalition of various rebel groups in northwestern Syria, primarily in Idlib. 3. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, a jihadist group with roots in al-Qaeda, controlling significant portions of Idlib province. Islamist and jihadist groups. 1. Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, also known as Daesh. Despite losing most of its territory, it continues to carry out insurgent attacks. 2. Huras al-Din, an al-Qaeda affiliate operating in northwestern Syria. Turkish-backed groups. 1. Syrian National Army, SNA, an umbrella group of Syrian opposition factions supported by Turkey, active in northern Syria. 2. Ahrar al-Shakia, another Turkish-backed militia. Other groups. 1. Jaish al-Islam, an Islamist rebel group primarily based in the Damascus suburbs. 2. Harakat Nur al-Din al-Zenki, initially a major faction within the opposition, now significantly weakened. International forces. 1. United States-led coalition, primarily involved in the fight against ISIS, supporting the SDF and conducting airstrikes. 2. Turkish armed forces conducting operations in northern Syria, particularly against Kurdish forces and ISIS. These factions often shift alliances and vary in strength, making the Syrian conflict highly dynamic and complex. The war caused a massive humanitarian crisis, with millions of Syrians displaced internally and as refugees in neighboring countries and beyond. The conflict has resulted in significant destruction of infrastructure and a high number of civilian casualties. As of the latest updates, the Assad government has regained control over most of Syria, with some areas still held by opposition forces, Kurdish groups, and extremist factions. Syria faces severe economic challenges, including widespread poverty, inflation, and a devastated infrastructure. The country is in dire need of reconstruction, but international sanctions and the complex political situation make this difficult. The international community remains divided on how to engage with Syria moving forward. The latest news with the international community is that Italy is restoring diplomatic ties with Syria, appointing Stefano Ravignan as their new ambassador and ending a 12-year diplomatic break. This is the first country part of the G7 to restore diplomatic relations with Syria. What will happen from here, we will find out. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe for more.